Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're unpacking the incredibly gripping story Unknown by Shadow, focusing in on episode 1, titled Human. And wow, this one features a truly unforgettable transition from the everyday mundane world straight into the afterlife. Seriously, imagine just walking down the street, minding your own business, thinking about some school assignment, and then suddenly, literally everything changes. So what happens when you suddenly collapse on a totally normal walk home and you wake up in an endless white space? Well, that is exactly what happens to our protagonist, a student named Sai. Just moments before, he was sitting in a classroom bouncing ideas off a classmate. A completely normal, totally average school day. But then, on his walk home, he suddenly feels dizzy, his vision blurs, and he completely blacks out. Next thing he knows, he wakes up in an absolute terrifying void. No sky, no ground, just white. And the dramatic irony here is incredible, right? Because we, as the audience, are thrown into this massive disorientation right alongside him.
Now, you might expect him to panic, but Sai isn't your typical freaked-out victim. Instead, he remembers a quote from his teacher from just moments before his collapse. "Through curiosity, humanity reached where it is today." It's this brilliant, thematic callback to the very lesson he was just listening to. His teacher had literally just walked the class through the entire history of the universe. I mean, from the extinction of the dinosaurs all the way to human evolution, really emphasizing that asking, hey, what happens if we try that, is exactly what drives our whole species forward. So Sai isn't just some lost kid. He carries this intense natural curiosity right into the afterlife. And that's absolutely crucial because it completely frames how he reacts to the impossible.
And that brings us to his bizarre new reality, the realm of life and death. It's a mysterious, endless white space where departed humans meet an immortal entity known only as the Guide. This brilliantly illustrates the stark, honestly terrifying situation Sai has just stumbled into. He's greeted by a man dressed entirely in black, and that visual contrast, the completely white, featureless space against the man in the crisp black suit, it sets this incredibly tense, highly unnatural tone right from the jump. You really can't help but wonder, what exactly is this entity, and what kind of power does he actually hold over human souls?
Well, the guy definitely doesn't waste any time. The rules here are absolute. He snaps his fingers and boom, two massive doors appear out of thin air. The door of death and the door of reincarnation. There is zero middle ground here. You can go to a final, permanent death, or you can step through to a brand new life. And I want to slow down for a second here, just to emphasize how terrifyingly rigid these two massive doors are meant to be. It's a strict binary system that has supposedly processed every single lost human soul for eternity. It literally boils down the entirety of human existence to two simple, inescapable options.
But remember Sai's intensely curious nature you talked about? Yeah. Instead of just picking a door like he's supposed to, that curiosity completely takes over. He fires off this frantic barrage of questions. Who are you? What's your name? What are you doing here? How did I get here? Did you kidnap me? What do you want from me? Which honestly is a completely natural human reaction. But the absolute best part, the most uniquely human detail, is that before asking this ancient immortal being any of this, Sai actually raised his hand, just like he was taught in school. It's so funny, and it momentarily confuses the guide, which gives Sai exactly the opening he needs to calm down and kind of analyze the whole situation.
So the guide patiently answers him. He explains that his name is Guide, that he guides lost humans, and crucially, that he cannot force a choice. After hearing all this, Sai makes a decision that entirely breaks the system. He looks right at the guide and says, "I want to stay here with you." Just let that sink in for a second. Faced with eternity or a brand new life, this human chooses the waiting room. It's wild. This decision is so unprecedented, so entirely out of left field, that the stoic, ultra-serious guide actually bursts into loud, unexpected laughter. He straight up tells Sai that he is the first human who has ever said that. But choosing this makeshift third option, it comes with some incredibly strict conditions. Instantly, Sai's clothes magically transform into a black suit, which serves as this really potent symbol of his new captivity. The rules are simple but harsh. He has to stand right beside the guide, he has to remain completely silent unless spoken to, and if he disobeys, he faces the door of death. No second chances. And Sai just agrees, without hesitation. He fully accepts this new reality, becoming an invisible, silent observer in an endless white void. It's such a fascinating look at just how far humanity will go, simply to observe and understand the unknown. And wow, Sai doesn't have to wait long to see these rules in action. Out of nowhere, an elderly woman named Sarah suddenly wakes up in the white space. She's facing the exact same binary choice from the guide, death or reincarnation. And astonishingly, she makes the exact same choice Sai did. She says,
I want to stay here. The guide just smiles and says, exactly what I expected. He snaps his fingers, this dark black smoke surrounds her, and when it clears, the elderly woman is magically transformed into a young woman wearing a black suit exactly like Sai.
Okay, but then, the guide does something highly suspicious. This is where the story takes a massive turn. Out of nowhere, the guide specifically asks if Sarah wants to meet the person who saved her life. Then, he actively removes Sai's invisibility. He is deliberately forcing an interaction between these two humans. But why? Why would an immortal being who claims he just guides lost souls orchestrate this highly specific reunion? The suspense here is just palpable as Sarah steps closer and stares at Sai in absolute utter shock.
Now, what's really interesting here is the massive, jarring temporal twist this interaction reveals. To Sai, today is May 30th, 2026. He literally just walked home from school. But when Sarah quietly whispers that exact date and Sai confirms it, she just shakes her head. Because in Sarah's reality, May 30th, 2026 was 70 years ago. Imagine the dizzying, absolute confusion Sai's experiencing in this moment. To him, he was sitting in a math class this morning. To her, he is a ghost from 7 decades in the past. It completely and fundamentally challenges our entire perception of how time in this afterlife actually operates.
So let's map this out to put it into perspective. Sai collapsed on May 30th, 2026. But for Sarah to arrive here as an elderly woman, 70 entire years had to pass on Earth. That brings us all the way to the year 2096. What felt like the literal blink of an eye to Sai, like just walking home and suddenly waking up in a white room, was actually an entire human lifetime for the rest of the world. It's a stark, chilling reminder of how utterly disconnected this realm is from the mortal world. And honestly, it makes Sai's choice to stay here feel even more profound.
But when Sai, totally confused, says, "I didn't save anyone," a brutal, agonizing headache strikes him. Suddenly, the suppressed memories come flooding back. They hit him like puzzle pieces snapping violently into place. A red traffic light, a little girl in the crosswalk, her mother screaming, a speeding truck barreling straight toward the child. Without even thinking, Sai runs forward. He pushes the girl out of the way, but he slips. And then, the impact.
The reality finally hits him. He is dead. I'm just going to leave a moment of silence for that, because the emotional weight of this realization is truly staggering. Sai didn't just collapse from some random illness. He didn't just faint on his walk home. He traded his own life, his own future, and his endless curiosity to save a complete stranger. It is the ultimate sacrifice, and it was completely hidden from his own memory until this very second in the white room.
Trembling, and finally putting it all together, Sai slowly turns to the young woman in the black suit standing beside him. He asks her, "That little girl, was it you?" Tears fill Sarah's eyes, and she replies, "Yes, you saved my life." It's a deeply tragic, yet incredibly beautiful climax. The elderly woman who arrived just moments ago lived a full 70-year life. A life that was entirely gifted to her by the brave young boy standing right in front of her. They are inextricably bound across time by this single heroic moment. It just goes to show how one selfless choice can literally echo through generations.
But as touching as this is, we absolutely cannot forget where they are right now and who is watching them. As Sai and Sarah realize this profound truth, we have to ask, why does the guide watch them with a sinister smile? The guide told Sai earlier that he didn't want anything from him, yet he orchestrated this entire painful reunion. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew Sarah was coming, and he totally expected her to stay. So what is this immortal being actually playing at? Is he really just a neutral guide, or is he something much darker? We'll definitely have to ponder the guide's true manipulative motives as we wait to unpack the next explainer. Keep questioning everything, and I'll see you next time.